Okay, welcome back to math. For this week, we are finishing off our project. The last math part is today. And I'm excited to see that some people have already done their baking, and we're going to submit that on your photos onto the Edmodo page because we're going to actually make a cookbook. Miss Gina Lee is going to help us do that. So it's going to be exciting. Okay, so today's task uses what you did with ratios. Okay, so I have to be able to tell that you have correctly done this before I'm going to give you part 6. Okay, so I made a cake, a chocolate cake that I'm going to show with my example. And I found a recipe for using a rice cooker to make a cake because I don't have an oven. So I was very creative kind of with what I did. So these are the ingredients. You do need to have this page out with you. If you did not put in all of your quantities, you do need to do that for this assignment, okay? So you might need to have an extra piece of paper to work on so that every single item is included that's within your recipe, okay? We're not going to use the new amount that you created as the doubling or halving, which is the ratio. We're just going to use the original amount, okay? So the first step is we need to figure out the total amount of milliliters that would be in your cake. Okay, so I know that some stuff dissolves, but for the sake of this math, we're just gonna use these numbers. Okay, so try to do this with mental math if you can, rather than using a calculator. That's good for your brains. So we're gonna go through this together. Okay, so 5 plus 5 is 10. I'm gonna skip the 3 for now. Another 2 sets of 5 are 20, and then a 5 and an 8 is 28. So the 8, then I'm gonna carry the 2. Okay, so 2 plus 4 is 6. Plus 8 is 14, 18, and then 22. Oh, no, sorry, 24. And then 30, 32, 40, 41. Carry the 4, 6, 8, 9. So my answer would be 918. If I want to double check that with a calculator to prove my math skills, I could. Okay, so 918 milliliters. That's how many total milliliters are in my recipe. Okay, cool. You're probably going to get some wonky number like that too that doesn't end with like a 2 or a 5 or something, or like a 0. If you have a 0.5, so actually for my salt, technically it should have been 2.5 because I had one teaspoon. For this, I'm just going to change it to 3 so that I have a full number. So at the end, if you get a half, maybe, just round up to the next full number, okay? So if that would be the case for me, I would have rounded to 919, okay? All right, so you cannot have a decimal. All right, now this is the assignment for today. Okay, percent of ingredients. So sometimes you would notice people who have allergies or intolerances, you would probably scan recipes for this. May contain traces of milk, eggs, wheat, gluten, okay, whatever it is. Here they're even showing, oh yeah, butter, okay, 10%. Okay, so what we're gonna do today is figure out how much of a food is related or is like an ingredient is within your food, because that might be really helpful to know if somebody has an intolerance or an allergy. An allergy, you probably wanna stay clear, but an intolerance, maybe you still be tempted to try that recipe. So I wrote a little blurb up here. Okay, so if you're serving your food to a friend who has an intolerance towards a certain ingredient, maybe eggs or milk or, I don't know, gluten, it would be helpful for them to know how much of that ingredient there is actually within the food. So for example, if someone has an intolerance towards eggs, like my uncle does, they still might be able to try the food if there's only 1 egg in a huge cake compared to like 8 eggs in the same size of cake, okay? And sometimes that is the case. Sometimes there's just a little tiny speck of something that might not really actually impact the person, especially if it's not like a life-threatening thing compared to like massive amounts. So that's what we're gonna be doing today, is figuring out what percentage of one ingredient is within your food. So this is the task. Choose one ingredient to figure out what percent it contains within the overall recipe. Okay. So I want to figure out one food that I'm going to focus on. Okay, I'm going to focus on, maybe I feel like I have a sugar intolerance because I know that my brain goes crazy if I have too much sugar. Or even coffee here. I don't really know if I like caffeine so much. 5. Okay, doesn't matter. I'm going to choose sugar. All right. So my intolerance is for sugar. Okay, cool. The next thing you need to do, next is to determine the percentage. Here are the steps below. Okay, so how to figure out what percent of my whole entire recipe is of sugar. Okay, so use the milliliters amounts for each food to calculate the total volume. Okay, right, so we already have our milliliters, which we have up here. Okay, so my milliliters of sugar is 240, and then my total is 919. That's an important thing, 919. Okay, so, all right, I'm gonna set this up like a fraction. So I'm going to show this with my pen instead. Okay, so as a fraction, okay, we know if we're going to figure out percent, this is a special ratio with one of the terms as 100, right? That's a full thing. Okay. I'm just gonna show over here. If I had a test that that I got like 20 out of 25, this is going to review what we did the other day, or last week anyway. Is it easy to figure out what percent this is? Yeah, it is. I can hear you saying that. We use our magic number and we would figure out, okay, yeah, times by 4. 25 times 4 is 100. 20 times 4 is 80. Okay, so I know this, I'm just showing this as a simple example first, as a review, okay? So this 20 out of 25 would be 80%. That's my goal. That's what I'm trying to figure out of 100. Okay, cool. But that's not what I'm doing today. I'm figuring out sugar. Okay, so my total of my baked item isn't 25 marks. It is 918 milliliters. Okay. Oh, just so you guys know, this is actually getting into a grade 7 scale, but I'm pretty sure you guys can do it. Okay. Then I need to, okay, so if that's my denominator, that is the number of items in the whole, which in this case is milliliters. How much do I have, which is the numerator. Sorry, denominator is the how much I have, right? And then the numerator is what I am, like what I'm curious about. So in this case, I got 20 marks out of 25. In my example, I have 240 milliliters of sugar. Okay. Whoa. Is there a magic number that I can use to get to 100? Probably not. I think you're going to be lucky if you happen to luck out with having 100 milliliters or 200 or 50 or something that's like a really easy number. But the reason we're doing this is because I wanted you to have a number that was not easy. So this is where the grade 7 skill comes in. Okay, get ready for your minds to be blown. The first thing we're going to do is, it's called cross multiply and then divide. Okay, so we cross multiply, then we divide. This is going to be something that you're going to work on so much when you get to grade 7. Okay, so first of all, what I've done is I have done a cross multiplication. I'm going to multiply 240 times 100. Okay, can we do that even in our heads? Yeah, we just add on 2 zeros. So it's 240, right? 240, and then I just add on 2 more zeros, okay? So my answer would be 24,000, right? Okay, now I'm going to divide. I'm going to divide by this number, 918. So I'm going to do this divided by 900. Is it going to let, it's not going to let me. Okay, divided by 918. Okay, this you do not know how to do in your head, so bring out a calculator and you can do that. I'm just going to type this in on my calculator here quickly. Sorry, just sort of sit tight for a second. 24,000 divided by 918 gives me, maybe you even did it ahead of me, 26.14%. Okay, cool. 26.14. So that would be my percent, but I'm just going to keep it as a whole number. So I'm just going to round because I know that the 1 is the boss of the 6. The 1 tells the 6 to stay where it is. So 26. And then we can go back and think about this. Does this make sense? Well, it kind of does. Because if this was, say that I was to round this number up, like 918 is really close to 1,000. And then this number is close. Yeah, okay. So if it's like 1,000 over, I rounded up a little bit. This would round up a little bit. Yeah, that makes sense. This is a proportion. So there you go. That is my answer. It is 26% of my cake that I made is sugar. Oh my goodness, I better not eat too much of it. If you wanted to do this again and prove it, I'll kind of show you guys over here. So say that we did our same thing of cross multiply. Oops, wrong color. I hope this works if I go like this. Yes, okay. So cross multiply. And then I would do a division. It's the exact same. So if you want to use this instead, this strategy will also always work. So say that I were to do this, so 20 times 100 is 2,000. 2,000 divided by 25. If I wanted to do that on my calculator, I would. You guys can even try this to prove it to yourselves. Oh, math is so cool. Then we get 80% or 80, which is 80%. Okay? There you go. So that is what you need to do. I need to be able to see somewhere that you have done this, and I want somehow to see your work on this as well. Okay? So hopefully you know how to do this little draw thing. Or if you just want to like do this on a separate piece of paper and then take a picture of it and submit it, that would be super too. Okay. Okay, yeah. Oh, I guess I did this all in the same step. So first of all, I said you had to calculate the total volume of the food, and then I set it up as an equivalent fraction. Okay, I just did the whole thing up here. But basically, we just did those 2 steps. This was step 1, and then we did the equivalent fraction, which is actually the step 2. Okay, so to get an RA, you have to do this for 1 ingredient. A CA, you would do this for 2 ingredients. And then an E, I'm going to change this. This should actually be for 2 ingredients to get an E because we always have to be extending. So accurately calculate percentage for 2 ingredients. And then this is the further extension to develop another use for percentage within this recipe. Okay, something other than the amount of ingredients would be like for the intolerance, for example. So how else could you use percent to show something within the whole entire cooking experience? Okay, it could kind of be like whatever you want. Yeah, I want your creative brains to kind of think about that and just something involving the whole process of making this food or the end product. So something along those lines. Okay. Good stuff. So this step is going to be due tomorrow on Edmodo, and I also are in the folder. And I also would love for you to take pictures of your final product and post them onto our page on Edmodo, just the whole page so everyone can see. And even with you in it as well, that'd be super cool too for putting into our cookbook. Okay, well done.